Not too long ago, I had something really strange happen. It was just a few weeks back, and I came home from work one day, just like any other. I live by myself in an apartment, and I've lived here for about 2 years. It's a decently nice place. Probably 10 or 20 minutes after arriving back from work, at about 4 in the afternoon, there was a knock on my front door. I went over and opened it up to see a woman standing there, who I did not recognize. She said that she had witnessed somebody seemingly trying to break into my car just minutes prior. She told me she saw me leaving my car, and then a man walked by several minutes later and tried the doors and windows. She said she just wanted to let me know. Of course, I was very concerned about it. I wanted to know who and why someone would try to break into my vehicle, although I didn't really have much of anything worth stealing in the car. So, I left my apartment, and the woman walked out with me to my car. I always parked in the large parking lot right outside of the apartment building, and usually in the same space. Lots of other cars were in the parking lot as well. When we got to my car, thankfully, it looked fine. None of the windows were smashed or anything, and the doors were all closed and locked. So, it looked like the man didn't get in. After seeing this and looking around, I didn't see the guy the lady had described. I told her thanks, and then I went back into the apartment building. That was weird enough, but things got weirder the next morning. When I was leaving for work, like usual, I noticed one other car running a little ways away in the parking lot. The car was kind of behind me and up against the end of the parking lot. I didn't think anything of it. However, when I was driving away and went past it, for whatever reason, I looked over. I'm not really sure why I did, but I noticed that the same woman appeared to be behind the wheel who had talked to me. I assumed that she just lived in the complex. I had never seen her before prior to when she showed up at my door, but the building was fairly large, and I certainly didn't know everybody inside of it. I didn't see her for the rest of that day. The next day, though, when I got home from work, I parked in the same space that I usually do. Just seconds after parking, a car entered the lot and parked against the back of the lot, behind me a ways. I looked over and saw that it was the same woman. She was parked in the same general spot that I had seen her before. Remembering the previous events, I did not get out of my car right away. I wanted to see what she would do, so I stayed inside of my car. When I did, she did the same thing. After 10 minutes, the woman had not gotten out of her vehicle, and neither did I. It was almost like she was watching me or something. Finally, I got tired of waiting, and I got out and went in. The woman stayed in her car the entire time. By this point, I didn't know if I was being paranoid or if something weird was going on. I just tried to forget about everything. The next day, I didn't notice the woman at all. But the following one, I was staying up really late. It was much later than I usually do, probably like 1 or 2 a.m. I was just hanging out in the living room and watching movies on TV. Out of nowhere, I heard this noise that sounded like somebody was trying to open the door to my apartment. I looked over to the door and saw the knob starting to turn. Luckily, it was locked, and it didn't open. I had no idea who would be trying to enter my place. I certainly don't have any friends that would just walk in. I expected someone to maybe knock on the door or something after that, but nobody did. I quietly got up from the couch and walked over to the door. When I got there, I looked through the peephole. I saw the same woman standing there on the other side. I could not believe it. Why was she trying to just enter my apartment in the middle of the night? I almost opened the door and confronted her, but I decided not to. Instead, I just kept watching her. She stood there, right in front of my door, for maybe 30 seconds. Then she just turned and walked away. I was left very confused, and since then, I haven't seen her. I don't know why this woman is seemingly stalking me. I'm pretty sure that she does not even live in the apartment complex. I've looked in the general area of the parking lot where she parked those times, and I haven't seen her car. I even saw a few of my neighbors in the hallways, and I asked them if they had ever seen the woman or knew if she lived in the building. Nobody knew her. I'm hoping that I never see her again. For a few days after that incident, I made sure to double-check the locks on my doors and windows every night. I didn't feel comfortable in my own apartment anymore, and every small noise I heard seemed amplified. Was it her? Was she outside, waiting for another opportunity to approach me? I decided to take action. First, I called my building's management office and explained the situation. They were sympathetic but didn't have much to offer. They hadn't noticed anyone matching the woman's description on the property and suggested I contact the police if I felt unsafe. So I did. I filed a report with the local police department, detailing everything that had happened. The initial warning about the car, her appearances in the parking lot, and the night she tried to open my door. The officer I spoke with took notes and said they'd keep an eye out during their patrols in the area, but without more evidence, there wasn't much they could do. Feeling a little defeated, I decided to take matters into my own hands. I bought a security camera and installed it inside my apartment, pointing at the front door. I wanted to know if she ever came back, and if she did, I'd have proof. For a week, nothing happened. I started to convince myself that maybe she had moved on, or perhaps I had overreacted. But then, one night, something happened that shattered my fragile sense of security. It was around midnight when I heard a soft knock on my door. Not the kind of knock you'd expect from someone trying to get your attention. This was quiet, almost hesitant. My heart raced as I froze, staring at the door from the couch. The knock came again, just as soft as before. I didn't move, hoping whoever it was would think I wasn't home. But then I heard it, the faint sound of the doorknob turning, just like before. My stomach dropped as I grabbed my phone and opened the security camera app. Sure enough, there she was, standing outside my door, her face partially obscured by the low light in the hallway. She didn't look threatening, but there was something unsettling about her. She wasn't holding anything, and she wasn't trying to force her way in. She just stood there, as if waiting for me to open the door. This time, I decided I wasn't going to stay silent. I cleared my throat and called out, "Who is it?" The woman froze. For a moment, she didn't say anything. Then, in a calm and almost apologetic voice, she replied, "I'm sorry. I think I have the wrong apartment." Without another word, she turned and walked away down the hallway. I watched her through the peephole until she disappeared from view, and then I checked the camera footage to confirm what I'd seen. The whole encounter lasted less than 2 minutes, but it left me shaken. The next morning, I took the footage to the police. This time, they seemed more interested. They said they'd add the footage to the report and promised to increase patrols near my building. But even with the police involved, I couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't over.